It was the last semester of my high school career. It was still a little cold outside. I was relaxed. I thought all the stress for the year had passed. I was done sending in my applications for college. I was getting A's in my classes. I was ready to leave. I hoped it would be easy sailing from that point on. How very wrong I was. Waking up early on a Sunday morning, the smell of bacon wafting through the air, feeling drowsy yet satisfied, I looked over at the time, reflecting what I was to do that day. Leading youth group discussions and activities was the biggest topic in my head. It was my responsibility to lead such activities because I was the senior co-chair, the president of the Youth Adult Committee that planned all youth-related events. I sprung up, looking at the clock. It's already 9:30. I jump in the shower, throw on some clothes, and I'm out the door. I didn't even get to eat the bacon which had been tempting me since my awakening. I drive over to my congregation and run inside out of breath, prepared to lead the meeting in which we would plan the activities for the month. This day was different from all other Sundays. It was the first day of the planning for Youth Sunday. The congregation I attended is called the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. Unitarian Universalists are bound by their openness and acceptance of everyone. They seek to build a strong community of individuals who like to discuss their respective philosophies and worldviews. Unitarian Universalists seek to become a strong faith-based community. One of the many ways that UU congregations create that community is by connecting the older generation and the younger generation. The way that UUCA achieved that goal is an event called Youth Sunday. This special service happens only once a year and is written and planned completely by the youth. There are many different elements to such a service that need to be prepared, such as the lights and sound, the sermons, the readings, and the music. It was my job as senior co-chair to help organize this event. We began our journey with a brainstorming session. I stand before around 40 teens, scratching, sniffing, twitching, talking, giggling, flirting, and farting. "Excuse me," I said sternly. Some of them quieted a little. Then I said louder, this time. "Hello! Good morning! It's time to begin class for today!" For the most part, the teens settled down and watched me as I wrote with a fat, squeaky black marker, "Youth Sunday Brainstorm," on a large post-it sheet. "Today, we will begin our planning of Youth Sunday. We will be brainstorming. Does anyone have any super fantastic ideas?" At first, there was only a trickling of ideas, but as the class progressed, more and more ideas were blurted, one building on the other. The process of brainstorming continued for 2 more Sundays, and we narrowed our topic down to sexuality. Our service was to be about the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, intergendered, and questioning community, with a focus on the need for our society to be more accepting. The Youth Adult Committee came up with teams for the youth to split into. These were the liturgy, music, reading, and technical teams. I was assigned to the liturgy team because of the lack of participants. We were the group in charge of the meat of the service. We decided that the service should have a build-up of emotion. We wanted to begin with the trials and tribulations of a gay teen, then move on to how we are changing today, right now, and the pro-equality laws being passed. The third sermon was on what an ally means and what it will mean in the future. I was assigned the third sermon, Owen the second, and Alexei the first. Alexei is about 6'3" and has dark greasy hair. He was an entrepreneur. He attended Woodward Academy, and he's gay. His speech was about how all people saw him for was his sexual orientation, not as a good student or a hard worker, but as the gay kid. How he was never allowed to have his boyfriend as a date for prom because his school was unaccepting of gays. Though not well written, the sermon had strong themes of betrayal and pain. Every time I heard him read it, I would cry, because I could feel all the pain he had felt. His words rattled me to the core. The exclusion, the teasing and belittling. The climax of the speech for me was when he mentions how he was lucky in comparison to other gay teens who had committed suicide. I had no problem feeling all this emotion. In fact, I was glad our service would evoke similar emotions in others. The planning was going along smashingly. Our sermons were in their final drafts and were being practiced ad nauseum. The songs had been chosen and the poems had been found. Everything was going smoothly until Alexei shared some saddening news. He would not be able to perform his sermon because he would be away at All-State Choir. Later I learned the true reason for his inability. His parents did not want him to speak of his sexuality in such a public place. We debated whether or not to have him record himself doing the sermon, or to have someone else read his words. In the end, it was decided that a new reader should be found. The reason we needed to have a new reader was the physicality of the service. Basically, we didn't want the whole service to be digital. Alexei immediately turned to me and said there was no one he would rather have read his sermon than me. I was flabbergasted. My heart was pumping. I couldn't believe out of all the people in our youth group, he chose me. How was I going to learn to perform his speech? I could hardly keep a dry eye, let alone speak it. The day of the service came racing towards me. All I could think of was how disappointed Alexei would be if I messed up his speech, how the entire youth group would be let down, and the church would think teens were nothing but punks. The morning of the service arrives. I curl my hair, plaster makeup on my face, pull on a red wool dress jacket. I look in the mirror, and I am ready to go. My knees shake uncontrollably under my black skirt. I look in the mirror. You can do this. You can say what needs to be said.